Well, hello everyone, and we bring you greetings from Birmingham Bible Church Worldwide. Hello, Facebook fam. Greetings to our YouTube channel subscribers. Welcome, Instagrammers, and what's up to all of our tweeters. We have an awesome opportunity on today to be able to share with you some information that is just so much needed. We are here in Birmingham, and I don't care if you're just around this country, you have children that have either started school or are getting ready to start school. And we want all of our children to be prepared. And why is that? Well, number one, because school is a lot different than when I was younger. When I went to school, the requirements were paper and pencil, and you just had to figure the rest of it out the best way you can. And now you have Texas instrument calculators. The assignments are a lot harder. Kids now have cell phones and they have apps. And there's just a lot of things going on in this world. In the midst of school shopping, getting schedules, meeting teachers. And of course, now we have, of course, and have had it for a couple of years now, we've had COVID, and it has really impacted our lives and affected us. And so with that, it has brought about some pressure for us mentally. Of course, y'all, for those of you who've been keeping just abreast about what's been going on with Simone and her mental bouts of depression, and Naomi, the tennis player, it's just in our society. And so we need to talk about it, talk about that. And so we have some other great speakers on today. We have great information. We have awesome speakers. I'm really excited. And so they're going to give you some great tools, some great information on how all of us can be successful. And so this information is for students. So parents, if your children are asleep, I need you to wake them up and tell them to sit in front of the computer, since they like to do that anyway, and just tell them and just make sure they're watching this. This information is for our parents, it's for our guardians, it's for teachers. We wanted to really just encompass everybody because it takes a village to make all this happen. So please, if you're out there on social media, make sure you are sharing this with somebody. Make sure you are texting somebody, you're telling somebody this great information that's about to go down in a few minutes. And so the first speaker that we have on today is Dr. Cree Johnson. We just love Dr. Cree. Dr. Cree is she's a doctor here in Birmingham. She has her own practice, and I will let her talk about that. She's been on the news. I tell you, one day we're gonna look up and see her on CNN. She is just doing some major things, some great things, and so I'm excited to have her. And so she's gonna really talk about how our children can stay healthy, especially in the midst of COVID. So, Dr. Cree, can you please share with us some information for all of our viewers?
Yes, thank you, Lady Pam, and thank you, Pastor Mason, guys, for having me. I am Dr. Cree Johnson. I'm a board certified family medicine physician, and I just specialize in helping everyday people who are so overwhelmed in this season learn to live a healthy, happy, and whole life. So today we want to talk about how can we have a healthy school year. I don't know about y'all, but I'm so nervous about this upcoming school year. We were really safe in our little bubble last year. We have a 7.5-year-old. She did virtual all year. I think she's a part-time worker at my office, a part-time worker at my husband's office. We learned to make it work. As stressful as it is, I think that stress was a little bit okay compared to what we're up against with this Delta variant now. So as we begin this school year, I wanted to give you guys about 5 practical tips that we can do in order to stay healthy. First things first, kids, families, and everything in the life, we need routine. So after being virtual for a whole year and some change, I encourage you to start getting back on your routine. Some schools are starting back in the next couple of days, so you may have to start today. So that may mean getting into bed earlier, starting your routine a little bit earlier, saying, hey, If you staying up to 10 o'clock, let's back it back tonight. Easing the kids back so it's not such a shell shock that they're like, okay, we got to do this all over again. So get a good night's rest. Sleep is very important, very, very, very important. So making sure that your kids are getting a good night's rest and a nutritious breakfast in the morning before they head out the door. So now we're rested, our brain has been fed, so we have the ability and the capacity to take on all the things that we need during the day. So getting a good night's rest. The next thing, I want to encourage our families to start having some healthy dialogue. We can have Jesus and we can have therapy and that and everything in between, and that's quite okay. So I'm an advocate of therapy, even for children. Play therapy is really, really good. A lot of our kids are dealing with some anxiety, or they're dealing with depression, they're dealing with attention deficit, and we've had to have them to ebb and flow and pivot a whole lot here in this last 18 months. We've expected them to be flexible, we've expected them to wear masks, we've expected them to do things that is just not typical of children. They're having to grow up a little bit faster, I think, because of the fear. And we know God has not given us a spirit of fear, but there's a nervousness that comes about with this because it's the unknown. So I encourage you to have healthy dialogues that be with the school counselor, maybe with teachers, even in your home, to say at the end of the day, let's sit down and have dinner together. How was your day? How's your day? Tell me what happened good today. My kid says it was fine. So I have to be creative in asking, so what happened fun today? What did you like today? What made you smile today? So find some different ways to get your children to engage, especially if they're teenagers. They may be like, they don't want to engage with anybody. They barely want to engage with themselves. So get them to open up so you can understand what's going on in their heads and in their hearts. So I encourage a good night's rest, a good breakfast in the morning, even if they're saying they don't want to eat breakfast. Encouraging a healthy dialogue. And if it's hard to get that dialogue, seek outside, unbiased people. I know we have a therapist or someone in the psych industry. I'm sure they'll dig into that a little bit deeper. And then we need to educate ourselves on what's going on. We have so many people on the internet that are Facebook physicians, I like to call them. They are experts, and they have not gone to a liquor school. The things that I have been just tired of fighting, because I'm like, that's just wrong. And 100 people have liked it and agreed with it. So make sure that we're finding our sources and teaching our children to find the sources from the correct places. And if the CDC makes you nervous because they're changing a lot, remember, science ebbs and flows. They're not lying to you. They are not telling you a lie. They are out here saying, hey, it changed. It changed, and as things change, we have to evolve. So what was right 3 weeks ago may not be right now. Go with what is right today. So if you're nervous about that, call your own pediatrician, call your own family medicine physician, and ask them, because those are people that you trust. Find sources that you trust so that you are aware, you are encouraged, and you know that you're making a good informed decision, because we will not live by fear. We can't live by fear. We need to be very informed. So we're going to get that good night's rest. We're going to have a routine. Eat your breakfast. You need it even though you don't think you do. Encourage a healthy dialogue, even if that is therapy. And nothing is wrong with therapy. We're going to embrace that in this new millennium, okay? And educate our kids the right way through the right channels. And lastly, I wanted to touch on a couple of things about the mask. I got this nice email from our school system that said, let's talk about definitions. Required means this, and recommended means this. They had the Webster definitions in the email. I was like, okay, they enlightened us on what that meant and gave us examples. So I want to encourage you that even if the masses, like my grandmama say, if they jumping off a bridge, are you going to jump off a bridge too? You do what you need to do to keep your family safe. You know that you live with grandmama and auntie, and they got high blood pressure, diabetes. They are South thick because they like that sweet tea. Wear your mask. I encourage you to continue to wear the mask We don't have virtual options this year like we did last year. The kids are going to be in the room. You don't know who's done what in their house. You don't know who's been vaccinated, who's not been vaccinated. So when in doubt, wear your mask. I encourage you, if your kids have not been masking at home, and if they're like mine, 7, 6, and those younger ages, just put the mask on, go to the store. Let's practice it so that they're comfortable, and teach your kids to be a leader. You know what? If everybody's jumping off a bridge, you just let them jump and call 911, because somebody has to be the one to get help. Okay. So you be okay being what you are taught to do. So wear your mask even if no one else does, because we want to protect you. You wear your mask to protect yourself, because if your kid is less than 12, they can't be vaccinated. And everyone has not been approved to be vaccinated. There are some people with immune compromised systems that their doctors, rheumatologists are saying, hold off on getting a vaccine because it can interact with your medications. They may have allergies. We don't know people's situations. So I want to give our parents a little nudge to say, be patient with people. You never know if they've said no to it. It may not just be because they're anti-vaccine. They may have been informed well to not get it and to wait. So be gentle in our approach, because right now everybody's like, oh, you're not welcome because you haven't done this. Oh, you're not welcome. So be gentle and pack your patience, because we're looking at a long road ahead. But what you can do what you can do to keep yourself safe, to keep your household safe, and to keep those around you. So wear your mask. This Delta variant is about as contagious, they say, as the chicken pox. I remember when I got the chicken pox, we got it because my sister had one bump on her hand. All the church children came to my house, and everybody had the chicken pox within a couple of days. We don't want that same story for our kids and our unvaccinated people at this time. So the Delta variant is very different. And for those of us who have been vaccinated, grab your mask, put your mask back on, because our shots were, yes, 95% plus effective against the alpha and the beta and those variants. But the virus is smart, it's mutated. So now we drop down to about 60% effective with this Delta variant. So 60 to 100, y'all math folks out there, that's a lot room compared to 95 to 100. So wear your mask, even though your illness may be very mild if you get it. We still have people around us that are not safe. It's Alabama. Only 30% of our population is vaccinated. So if you're in a full room, it's more likelihood that people around you, more people have not been vaccinated than those that have. And lastly, I just touched on that, vaccinations. If you are in doubt, yeah, we are in the biggest case study ever. Millions and billions of people have received this shot. Yes, there have been some side effects, but they are very, very, very few. I want to remind you of the side effects of COVID, though. Fatigue, chronic fatigue, shortness of breath, kidney failure, liver failure, kidney failure, I said kidney failure, lung failure, having to be on oxygen. All of those things I'm actively watching people still have 6 months, several months after the diagnosis. And so with the vaccine, you are able to keep those side effects or the long hauler symptoms down. So be mindful of that. And I just want to remind you, get a good night's rest, get your schedules back intact, drink your water and mind your business, people, but wear your mask while you're doing it. Thank y'all for having me.
That's awesome, Dr. Cree. Thank you for all of that. I mean, and I like the points you gave. Get back to a routine. And that's kind of what we like to do. Normally, 2 weeks before school starts, we try to get them back in the routine.
Mhm.
Get a good night's sleep, that good breakfast, the healthy dialogue. I like what you said about the mask. And I think what it is with a lot of people, we just don't like change. I mean, like you said, this COVID, this variant is always changing. It may change next week, and we may have another strand out there. And so you're right. We have to get used to the change, get accustomed to the change. In my house, all those who have been vaccinated have been vaccinated, and we still wear our mask. because that was the first line of defense when COVID first came out. So we also, but thank you for that, and thank you for giving us that bit of information. Thank you so much. And you gave a good segue to eating a good breakfast. So that's going to bring us to Dr. Larissa. Dr. Larissa, hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. We are doing awesome. Dr. Larissa is a nutritional neuroscientist. And so she knows a lot about food and what foods are great. So I know Dr. Larissa is going to give us some great information about foods that we need to be eating and things we need to be doing to get our inside as healthy as well. So go ahead, Dr. Larissa.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, everyone. It's good to see everyone again. And just to kind of go off of what Dr. Johnson was just saying, science definitely changes. And as she was speaking, I just got an alert that said that vaccinated people can spread the Delta variant just as easily as unvaccinated. So if you're vaccinated, please still wear your mask, wash your hands, all that stuff. So that just shows you how real time we're living. But I'm not here to talk about that. Dr. Johnson did a wonderful job speaking on that. I am here to talk about food. So I'm going to share my screen here, start my little slideshow. All right. And like Lady Pam said, my name is Larissa Strath, and I am a nutritional neuroscientist. So that's just a really fancy name for saying I like to study how food affects and interacts with the nervous system, our brain, our eyes, our spinal cord, everything that makes us move, feel things. All of the above. And what's great about brain food is going to be our main topic of the day, is it's also a good immune system food. So we're in this era of COVID, but going forward, even when this ends, we still need to eat to keep our immune systems in tip-top shape. So all of these foods and the advice that I'm about to give you applies to our brains and our nervous systems, as well as our immune systems and the rest of our body. So again, I'm a neuroscientist, so I'm biased, but I have to start with saying our brain is kind of a big deal. So it is the control center for our body. It's in charge of keeping our lungs breathing, heart beating, and allows us to move and think. It's our powerhouse. So we have to take care of it. At school and in life, we learn new skills. We listen to music. We try to solve puzzles. So those are really great ways to exercise our brains, just like we would go outside and go for a run or lift weights to exercise our muscles. And we all know that we need to eat to keep our bodies healthy, but we also need to eat to keep our brain healthy. So there are tons of foods and nutrients that are excellent for our brain health. So like we were talking about earlier, foods can prevent us from getting sick. It can prevent our bodies and as well as our brains, but it can also help our brains improve at jobs such as memory and concentration. When you're in school, this is really, really important, especially that concentration piece for paying attention in class so you don't get in trouble. And then the memory part for when you have to go take that big test, right? So there's a variety of foods that can help our brains, but first we're just going to get some quick definitions out of the way. So a nutrient, when I say nutrients, when we talk about all those things, it's just a substance that is essential for us to stay alive and to keep our brains working. And we get those from the food we eat. And they're divided into two groups. So there are macronutrients and micronutrients. A macronutrient is something we need a lot of. So this includes carbohydrates, fats, and protein. And this is where our body primarily gets energy from. We get calories from. It is important as children to get at least 1,500 calories a day. That's aged, I believe, 4 to 18, and then 18 and above adults, we need to get about 2,000 calories a day. And they need to be made up of those carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. And micronutrients are those things that we need smaller amounts of, but I like to call them small and mighty. So we may not need a lot of them, but they are essential. So they are what are the construction workers to help take the carbohydrates and fats and protein that we ate to turn them into something that we can use later. So all of these nutrients in our food are what our body uses to keep us alive, right? And so often a lot of people don't eat as well as they should, and this causes them to get sick. And this can also affect our brain's ability to stay alive or make it very sick as well. So you might be wondering, okay, that's all well and good, Dr. Larissa, but what foods can I eat to help my brain? So I'm going to give you my 5 favorite foods that I would challenge you guys to try to incorporate more in your 3 meals a day. So the first brain food is fish. So when it comes to brain health, fish is always at the top of the list because they contain a ton of vitamins and minerals. Remember those tiny, small, and mighty little nutrients to keep your brain healthy. But they also contain a very special type of fat called omega-3s. And our brain is actually made out of omega-3 fatty acids. So it uses our brains if you're growing and you're going through puberty, you're going through your childhood, your brain is growing in size. And your brain uses those omega-3s to make it bigger. And then if you get hurt, say you're playing football, this is the biggest, you're playing football at school, you hit your head, you get a concussion, your body will use those omega-3s to actually repair your brain if you do get hurt. So studies have shown that eating fish can help with your memory as you get older. And not eating fish can actually lead to mood changes, such as being very sad, as well as having difficulty learning. So if you can incorporate more fish, if you can maybe do it 3 or 4 times a week, that would be ideal. Number 2 is blueberries. So blueberries provide numerous health benefits for your body and your brain. And so blueberries have a really deep color. I know when I eat blueberries in the summer, my fingers dyed purple. And the color is the stuff that is going to be most helpful to your brain. That is the vitamins and minerals and antioxidants. They are what give the blueberries their color. So they contain a ton of vitamins and minerals, as well as other substances, like I said, those antioxidants to help repair your brain and prevent it from getting hurt in the first place. And studies have shown that eating blueberries can help parts of your brain communicate better, get along better, and prevent brain illnesses as you get older. So the blueberries are very, very helpful, especially when you're in school and you're trying to get your brain to talk to one side and it needs to go do math problems on the other side. Eat some blueberries. It'll help your brain talk to itself. Number 3, controversial one in terms of flavor, but not controversial in terms of health benefits, is broccoli. I personally love broccoli. It is packed with powerful plant compounds, including those that keep your brain from getting hurt. Notice the theme here. It's a lot to do with structure and communication in your brain. And broccoli is very high in vitamin K, which helps keep the brain strong, steady, and sturdy. So when you're, running around playing sports, when you're thinking, you're burning a lot of calories thinking, it's what keeps your brain strong. And studies have actually shown that eating more broccoli can help you remember things better. So if you have a big test coming up, if you want to be, top of your class, maybe you should think about eating a little more broccoli. Your mom was right. Moms are always right. This one is more well-loved than the broccoli, dark chocolate. So cocoa is also packed with nutrients that keep your brain safe and healthy from diseases and injuries. And it contains those antioxidants that like to stay in areas of your brain involved in learning a new skill or subject in school. And it will actually make it easier for you to figure things out and remember them, which I think is very interesting. And it also makes you very happy. So scientists, we haven't quite figured out if dark chocolate makes you happy because of something in the chocolate, or if it's just because it tastes really, really good, or both. Either way, it's going to affect your mood and it's going to make you feel happier. And finally, my 5th favorite brain food is eggs. So eggs have a really special compound in them called choline. And choline is what we call a neurotransmitter. Choline is used to help your brain and nervous system talk to one another, to make those decisions faster, to execute that activity better. So studies have shown that eating more choline can actually help you remember things better and make decisions faster. And eggs also have a lot of B vitamins as well as healthy fats and protein, and that will give us a lot of energy to stay focused in the classroom, to participate in our extracurriculars, to get our exercise, as well as help us sleep at night. And these nutrients will also help prevent brain diseases and keep our brain sharp while we're young and we're at school, but also as we get older. So the bottom line here is that many foods can help keep your brain healthy. So some foods such as fruits and vegetables, teas and coffees have substances in them that protect your brain from damage. Others, such as nuts and eggs, contain nutrients that are really good to support learning, memory, and brain development, which, of course, as we go to school, we need to tap in and max out all of those things. So you can help support your brain health and boost your alertness, memory, and happiness by including these foods in your diet. So you can help keep your brain healthy. You can make sure that you have enough energy to pay attention in class, to learn. It takes a lot. You burn a lot of calories every day thinking. You'd be surprised. It's more than you think. As well as to have enough energy and be well enough to participate in our extracurriculars as well. So with that, I will stop my screen share because that's all I've got for y'all today. And I will pass it back to Lady Pam.
Awesome, Dr. Larissa. I like how you started off with the why, because you know how children are. Well, why I gotta eat this and why I gotta eat that? Well, you gave us the why. It's really good for you because it helps your thinking, your memory skills. The body is designed to repair itself. So if you eat right, if if you sustain an injury, if you get sick, then the foods that you've eaten can fuel and make sure that you're able to repair and just bounce back a lot faster. So no, this was great. And I'm so glad that dark chocolate was on there because I know I feel happy when I eat chocolate. So
I always like to follow the broccoli up with dark chocolate.
I have one quick question. For
Mhm.
those children who are picky eaters, can you help us as parents just how we can kind of hide some of that stuff? We talked about that before, like the broccoli. I think you mentioned kind of grinding it up in spaghetti sauce. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so hiding things. The best way I've learned, as you just mentioned, is to hide it in sauces. So if you make your spaghetti sauce, I don't know one kid that really hates spaghetti. And if you boil you cook like carrots and zucchini and things like that with the sauce, and then right before you go to serve it, blend it so that it's completely hidden. You can do that, which is awesome. Another one we've tested with my friends' kids is actually a macaroni and cheese. We put carrots and broccoli and spinach, and we made the macaroni and cheese sauce and then blended it at the end. And the carrots kind of hid the green part, which was good. And he ate it right up, and it was great. And then another great one that we like to do is making banana ice cream. So we'll take, this is really great too if you have bananas that are about to go bad, so you don't want to have to throw them out. So what you can do is peel them all, cut them up, freeze them. And what we do in my house is you blend them in a blender, put your frozen bananas in, we'll put spinach and strawberries, for example, and you blend them and it makes ice cream. And you can scoop it out and put it in, and it's actually, got no added sugar in it. It's got your spinach, your strawberries, and your bananas. So it's really, really good. It also, I, just was a grad student, so I would have to maximize the food because I was on a budget. So I was like, I can't throw these bananas out because I'm throwing money out. And so that's what I would do is I would make banana ice cream instead.
Wow.
Mhm.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Larissa. Oh, and I forgot to, and I'll have Cree do this as well. How can people contact you if they just have some questions?
Yep. So if they have questions, my email is lstrath, just LSTRATH at uab.edu. as well as you can follow me on Instagram at dr.larissajane.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Larissa. Dr. Cree, can you please tell us about your practice and where people can find you if they want to set up an appointment, what have you?
Yes. If you want to set up an appointment with me, you can go to our website, www.brownstonehealthcare.com. I have 2 practice locations. My main practice is in Trustful, Brownstone Healthcare and Aesthetics. And I am opening a clinic this week that is exclusive for the city of Birmingham employees. So it is Brownstone Be Well. It will be 1700 5th Avenue North, and you can call it 205-202-5650. So we're very excited to be serving them. So if you know someone that is a city of Birmingham employee that don't have a doctor or they need a cute doctor, send them my way.
Sure will. Awesome. That's awesome, Dr. Cree. All right. And of course, Dr. Cree had gave another segue. She talked about healthy dialogue and how we need to really be talking to our children, especially sometimes, girls are a little bit more chattier than boys. And so sometimes you really got to pull out a boys. But this leads us to our third speaker for today, Miss Valerie Wilson. And she is going to talk about the mental health of it all. Hey, Dr. Valerie.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Lady Pam, for having me, and give my blessings to Pastor Mason as well. I really do appreciate all the information. I was over here taking my own notes, and there was a couple of things that were mentioned in terms of sleep, in terms of food that provides good brain energy. All those things really are important to mental health. You can even come to therapy and learn all of the proper strategies and skills and all of that. But if you're not getting good sleep, and if you're not getting the foods that Dr. Larissa mentioned, then your mental health is going to fail as well. And you won't be able to implement some of those strategies that you need to when you don't have the emotional capacity or the endurance or stamina to implement them. So I wanted to talk a little bit about some changes that I've seen in our school systems here in Arizona. Just recently, they're moving towards more of implementing licensed professional counselors, which is what my role is. Some of the school counselors, I think maybe on the East Coast, the school counselors are more geared towards career oriented. Here, they're starting to transition to more of a role of having emotional care or social emotional care counselors to come in and be of a service to the students, which I can appreciate. Mental health is very important across cultures, but I do want to focus in on the Black community because this is a taboo topic. I am not excluding anyone in other cultures, but I want to talk about some of the things that prevent the Black community from coming in for help and assistance. First of all, there is a critical shortage of psychologists in the field that I'm currently working in. And I wanted to give you some numbers just to kind of bring it to reality. And these are statistics from 2015. 86% of psychologists in the field in the US workforce, only 5% of them are Asian, 5% Hispanic, and only 4% are Black or African American. Now, there are some things that have discouraged the Black community from coming forth to seek care. That is one of them. A lot of times there's this belief, and I've actually heard this in my office for Black people who have sought me out for help, that a lot of things that go on in the Black community, they believe that would not be understood or taken into consideration by those who are their counterparts. But I want to share with you some other statistics about why it's important. Here's some statistics for the Black community, especially with children in the school system. In 2019 alone, suicide was second leading cause of death for Blacks or African Americans ages 15 to 24. And then the death rate from suicide for Black and African-American men was 4 times greater than African-American women in 2018. Black females aged from grades 9 through 12 were 60% more likely to attempt suicide in 2019 compared to their counterparts. And from the years 1980 to 95, the suicide rate among African Americans ages 10 to 14 increased 233%. This is critical. This is an absolute critical space. And Dr. Johnson alluded to the fact that we do need to have some healthy dialogues. And I don't know about any of you, but in my household and where I grew up near Birmingham, actually, I grew up there for 35 years before moving to Arizona. And here are some things that I heard in my household. Sit down, shut up. You know, don't go to the school telling our business what stays in this house. What goes on in this house stays in this house. These are negative messages that we have heard and are silencing our kids. So that healthy dialogue is very important. But there's some history behind that, that silence, right? There has been a reluctance in the Black community to seek out both physical and mental health because it's been attributed to a general distrust of the medical establishment. And it's not without merit because the history is that the African Americans are either misdiagnosed, then white patients and then in the Black communities have been exploited by the government and medical community in the name of medical advancement. There's just so much history there that prevents us from seeking out medical care. So just having 4% of us represented in the field of psychology, it's understandable that there's this apprehension about whether someone would understand where I'm coming from. While we were going through COVID, here's something else that we were going through. We were at political tensions were very high. Racial tensions have been very high. And when we see some of the things that's going on in the community, you clearly could actually measure some of the criminal events that were occurring. Many of the situations that would come up with African Americans were often diagnosed as illegal activities or described as illegal activities or violent, but not as mental disorders, when some of them could have been situated in the mental disorder category. So we do have things in terms of the legal system that are disparaging the Blacks in the community from seeking out mental health, but also because it opposes that survival mentality that we have been taught. You know, we have grown up, it's like we have survived so much already. And now we're coming to a place like if we go into mental health, we're about to be told there's something wrong with us. It's not necessarily something being wrong with us. All of us in the human race, we're going to deal with some level of anxiety. Now, when you think about children, it is common for children to experience anxiety. It is common for them to experience depressed mood. These are not necessarily disorders, but it might be something that they're experiencing for a short period of time. And if they're not encouraged to talk about those things, if it's internalized and it's suppressed, then we can start getting into the side of mental disorders. So I would encourage parents to talk with their kids. I will give you an example, just like Dr. Johnson was saying. When you're asking children these open, closed questions, like, how was your day? You're probably going to get good, fine. I have 3 sons, 2 of them adults, and I remember getting those responses, oh, it's good, it's fine. I said, I have to change it up. I have to change it up. And I will tell you about a conversation I just had with my 9-year-old the other day. He's doing virtual school. And he had just run through his tests and didn't do well on them. And we are trying to encourage independence this year, working independently, given that he's in the 4th grade, because that's what they're encouraging at this stage of school. And I was talking with him. His teacher reached out and said, hey, it seems like he's rushing, so on and so on. And I just brought him into my office, didn't sit him on the sofa or in the chair because they hate that. But I just talked to him. I said, hey, what's going on? I said, are you feeling anxious about school? And he shared with me that he was. I said, what exactly is making you anxious? He was like, well, it's hard. And I said, well, you know what? Mommy's in school too. And this goes to being transparent. Mommy's in school too. And I feel anxious. So it's helping him to normalize that feeling of anxiety and not telling him that it's bad for him to experience that. I also told him the night before that, I am afraid. I used that word. I am afraid that I won't be able to internalize all the information that school is throwing at me right now. I can appreciate all the doctors on the panel because I'm in doctorate school, but it's hard. It's challenging. It takes time. It takes you being very focused. And I can relate to my son in that. And we talked through it. And yesterday, he had the opportunity to go back and take those tests after we had that conversation, and he did well on all of them. But this is a conversation that never happened in my home. It never happened. So as a kid, I struggled with test anxiety. No one ever asked, and the teachers didn't detect it. And the wonderful job that teachers do, they have many students to give attention to, and they may not always catch those things. But I think these conversations start in the home. If we can start having these conversations in the home, we can prepare our kids to be more aware of their mental health in school and be able to ask for help. So today I actually wanted to come before you and just give you some questions, some open-ended questions that you can explore with your kids. I gave you an example of how that occurs with my son and I. I just asked him, I says, are you feeling anxious? Tell me about that anxiety, okay? So some questions some open-ended questions to ask would be, do you feel like your friends and family are supporting you recently? Why or why not? Always put that question, why or why not, on the end, because that asks them to expound on this question. Do you feel like you have too much to handle? Or do you think you're managing your time well? One of the other conversations that I had with my middle son when he was playing football, going to school, having to stay up late at night studying, preparing for college, those types of things. He came in one day and he was just agitated and short. I said, what's going on? And he's like, well, I always have to wash the dishes every night, and I have football practice every night, and I have school, and da 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 da. And I was like, how has that been making you feel? And he says, just frustrated, overwhelmed. So I raised my boys to identify the feeling, not to whine, but to identify and communicate or verbalize what the feeling is. And then my husband and I said, we can definitely understand where you're coming from with that. So what if you do the dishes on the weekend and just focus on your activities with football and school during the week? That worked for him. And now we're sending him back to school with an emotional capacity to take on those things that, he really do need to focus on. So you guys can be able to, parents, I encourage you to, sit with yourself, try and think of some open-ended questions. One of the other questions I asked my youngest son is, what's your favorite way to relax or de-stress? He has his own Nigel time. We have to incorporate amongst all of the electronics and all of the stimulation from learning and interacting with friends at school, incorporate some downtime, because that overstimulation can also cause anxiety. So really, even if it is 30 minutes before bedtime, what does downtime look like? the reason why I like to incorporate this downtime is because when we're sending kids out into the world, if they're not familiar what downtime looks like, they're always going to be looking for something to fill their time and their space, and not recognizing how that leads to the anxiety. And then I also have worked with a lot of teenagers right now who just don't know how to be alone. And when they describe for me what it's like to be alone, they describe it as unaccepted, unloved, don't fit in. Well, is that the case? I wonder. Or is it because they are looking for many things to fill their time? So incorporate downtime, relaxation time, and call it that, and try and give them some tools that they could be focusing on, like breathing or just listening to music, or some other things that they enjoy, puzzles or different hobbies that they like to do. Okay. In terms of the focus in the Black community, I would love to see us lean in a little bit more and having these conversations, recognizing the messages that some of the children have been given and are still given. Even in my early parenting, I was using some of the same messages. Sadly, I was doing what I had learned. I've heard what people were saying to me, and I repeated them back to my children. And I decided that that was no longer working for me. So those healthy dialogues are very important for your children's mental health. And that's all I have for you today. So I'll pass it back to Lady Pam.
Thank you, Valerie. This was awesome. This was great. I like those questions that will trigger the healthy dialogue. And I want to interject, and maybe you can add to this, that as parents, we can't be mad at the answers that we get, because this child's truth. And so I feel like if you shut that child down when they do become honest, then they will never open up to you again. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Absolutely. Just in the example that I share with you about my middle son who felt overwhelmed with, all the things that he had to do in terms of chores, sports, school. Back in my home, that would have been met with aggression.
Mhm.
You just do what you're told,
That's it.
and you find a way to do it.
Mhm.
And it would not have been heard. And it was so important for me to have a listening ear. Now, was I triggered when he said that? Absolutely. And a part of that being triggered is what led to that aggression that I experienced. And I didn't want to put that in front of my children, because it will keep them from coming to you or being open about what they truly are feeling. And if I'm asking them, or ask my son, you're just going to have to deal with being overwhelmed. You're just going to have to deal with the anxiety. Now we have to think about, how is that going to manifest behavior wise?
Mhm.
And kids will start acting out. As we all know, if we're not engaging and giving attention to those areas where they're experiencing these negative emotions.
You're right. And let me ask you this, because I know there are parents, who want to keep their children busy. And this is kind of along with the anxiety piece you were talking about. If you can kind of give us some signs of anxiety. I know some parents who just put their children through too many rigorous activities. They got, whatever, dance, gymnastics, they got sports, they got schoolwork. If you can talk about that, and even maybe if your child is kind of in a way saying, I really don't want to do sports. I'm not talking about school, something that's really important, but how can we as parents just make sure that we're seeing these signs of anxiety, even if it's, because I was thinking about what our children, if it's biting nails. I don't know. Is there something that we can see outwardly, not just the behavior, but something that maybe
Mhm.
says, okay, there's an issue here and we really need to talk about it. Can you talk about some of
Mhm.
that? Then we'll We'll move on.
Yeah, before nail biting begins, like that is one of those things that you can see happening. But pay attention to the body language. We have become less familiar with body, and when we see it, we just don't react to it. I think that we often see, the heads falling back or the eyes rolling. And, again, those were things that were dismissed probably in you guys' childhood as much as mine, that it was just often dismissed, or you were, chastised for having those types of reactions. So pay attention to that. You'll begin hearing verbal messages as well, you know, about not wanting to do such activities. I want parents to think about, who is it for? When they're asking their children to do all of these different activities, who is it for? Is that for the kid, or is it for them? Is it for image? These are conversations that I have to have with parents. A lot of times they want their children to be involved in all of these activities because maybe that'll make them appear like a good parent. You are a good parent if you pay attention to your child's mental health. You are a good parent if you're giving your kid a break. So I actually had to talk to my mom about being the trophy kid. Oftentimes when she would introduce me, she was like, "Oh, this is my daughter. She's a minister. She's a massage therapist. She's a counselor, blah, 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 blah." She'd go down the whole list. And I said, "Mom, let's not do that again." I said, because it's just too much pressure to try and live up to your expectations and everybody else's expectations of whomever you're bragging to.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
they hit a nerve because as parents, we're so proud of them. But you're right. Then it's like, if they're standing right there, they're like, "Oh my God, I can't let them down. I can't." Yeah, you're right. No,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It's when it's you being proud of your kid, and there's a healthy side of that.
Yeah.
But I saw something different, and that was my mom really going overboard.
Wow. Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you so much, Valerie. Appreciate all this information. We've been checking the comments just to see if anybody had any questions. So no questions yet. And so this brings us to Miss Karen. She is an IT coach or IT person for the Hoover City Schools. And she gives great information. We have a lot of children who now have cell phones. In my house, children get cell phones when they get to middle school because they start getting into extracurricular activities and they're a little bit more responsible. And so with that, of course, there are apps and there's chat rooms and all kind of stuff. And so can you please give us parents and children some help about what is acceptable, what's not acceptable, what they should be on, not be on, what parents need to do to make sure, since we're paying the bill, what we need to be doing to make sure they're on the right stuff. Okay. Thank you, Ms.
Yes,
Karen.
thank you so much for having me. Good morning, everyone.
Yes, ma'am.
When you think about social media, you also have to include those chat worlds that you had just mentioned. And the reality is that most kids start developing those online relationships as early as 8 years of age. In fact, I think back to when my own daughter was around 8 or 9. There was this popular stuffed animal that that you could purchase, and it was very reasonable, but it also came with a link to online games. And I'll never forget sitting down with her and us exploring that website together and discovering a chat room. And so we had to sit down and have that conversation together, reminding her of stranger danger that they learn about in elementary school, that we talk about at home, but that stranger danger also relates to the online world as well. And so as a parent, we had to sit down and set up those guidelines that at her age, that chat room was not for her, that she could play the games, but not participate in chatting, because those people in the chat, it could be 8-year-olds, or it could also be adults trying to chat with children. So we had to have that discussion. And it's interesting too that by age 10, they progress to multiplayer games, right? So there's this progression going on, building up to those apps that we see today. Again, I remember when my son was around 10 years old and he received an Xbox. He and I sat down together to set up that Xbox. And that was his first exposure to those multiplayer games. Again, we had to sit down and have that discussion that he could not play those online games with strangers. He could only play with those face-to-face friends that he has. That's the only friends that he could play with, because we could not risk him communicating with strangers online. And then we have those social media apps, right? And by age 13, millions of kids have already created these online social networking accounts. And so what I'm going to share with you now are some essential safety and responsibility guidelines for you to consider. Now, the first one is really the most important. Follow the rules. And when I say follow the rules, all of these social sites have an age minimum. And that age minimum is 13. And that is both for legal as well as safety, privacy reasons. Because when setting up these accounts, they are asking for more than 2 pieces of private information. And so we need to encourage and monitor our children to make sure that they are sticking with those age-appropriate sites. I know my kids came to me before they were 13 years of age wanting to set up Facebook. My answer was no, because it just was not age appropriate for them. So in fact, Instagram, Snapchat and Facebook, that age requirement is 13. They have to be 13. Because one, they're asking for a lot of private information when setting up that account. And then the amount of tracking that they do. So again, only set up those accounts when they become that age of 13. The second big thing is you have to think before you post, because anything and everything that you post will have an invisible audience, and you have no clue who all can see it. We're talking friends of friends of friends of friends and so on, and before you know it, thousands of people can see a post. So parents, it is a very good idea to have access to what your kids are doing online, at least at first. So you need to be sure that you're monitoring posts and making sure that they are appropriate, because you really want to try to keep them from doing something that they'll regret later. I always tell students, coaches and universities are looking at these social media posts, and it could interfere with scholarships later on. So think before you post. The next thing, privacy settings on these apps. Very, very important to take a look at those default settings, because unfortunately, a lot of the default settings includes being able to share your location. And you certainly don't want everyone knowing where you are at all times. So going into those privacy settings and making sure that the location is turned off is extremely important. Also, to take a look at what other information are they collecting, making sure that you go through, because even though there are privacy settings that you can play around with, they aren't always foolproof, but they can be helpful. So take the time to learn about those default settings and take the time to learn how to change those on all of your children's favorite sites, the apps, and teach your kids the importance of privacy. All right, kindness counts. This one is so important. You do not want to be that online bully. So if you're not going to say it to someone's face, then it is so important that you not post it. Okay, it always seems like, I know I do, monitor, and, you just have to be careful, and kindness, kindness, kindness. So we always tell our students that if you see any type of online bullying, to go ahead and report that to a trusted adult immediately. Okay, so that brings me to our children who are in elementary, because they are really wanting to create these accounts. Again, that number one rule, make sure that they're old enough. But if you do discover an online site, parents and children need to create those accounts together, because you do not want to share more than 2 pieces of private information when setting up those accounts. Always supervise what they are doing. Always supervise online. Very important. Just like, if in your household you don't allow unsupervised play dates, that should be the same rule that's online as well. They are playing online. Who is their play date online? It needs to be supervised. And then there are so many apps that are being added every day that children are discovering. There was one called Musical.ly a few years ago that I discovered 4th and 5th graders were creating accounts for. But once I vetted their privacy policy, I discovered, well, 1, they weren't old enough to create those accounts. And 2, it was just unhealthy and unsafe for them to have even been on that app. So it is so important for parents to do your homework. Make sure you check out the sites before you let your kids go online. Make sure you check out the apps before they download them. Look around for ones that appeal to your kids' interest or even have educational angles to them. Set time limits on the amount of online activity, playing on their phones. Set those limits. And then most importantly, those phones need to be picked up at night. They need to go to bed too. And it is so important to pick them up at least 30 minutes before bedtime. They should never be left in the rooms at night. Pick them up, cell phone time, bedtime, take them to your room, place them in a drawer, and don't take them out again until the morning. I have friends who said that when they take up those phones, that is when there's a lot of activity, is that between midnight and 2 a.m. That's when their friends start texting one another. Pick up those phones so that way they can get plenty of rest, especially for school. So how can you keep up with all the latest social apps and sites that our preteens and teens are using? Your best tool is Common Sense Media. In fact, my school system, we are Common Sense Education certified. So all of my teachers go through the process of being certified and learning how to teach all about the safety. But most importantly, that is a great resource for you. Again, Common Sense Media. You can go to that website, you can enter in any app, and it's going to share with you concerns that you need to have about privacy. It's going to share with you the legal minimum age to set up an account. But most importantly, it's also going to share with you their view on what age is appropriate. So even though an app may say age 13, in reality, as far as age appropriate, it may not be until they're 16. So again, there's that search engine on that website where you can search these apps. You can search these online communities that our students are going to. All right. And again, also listen and look at what your children are doing online. All right. And that is all I have for you today. Any questions?
Oh, this is great, Karen, just great. So many great tips. Supervising your children, setting guidelines. You did a little bit of this last year, and I had no idea about the 13-year age limit for the Snapchat and Instagram. You see a lot of kids doing. What about TikTok? That's something to ask you. Is that okay for the younger generation?
I would, again, 13 and over.
13 and over. 13. Yeah. Okay. Wow. Okay. And again, I like that website is you said commonsensemedia.org.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, this is great. This is awesome. And I like how you say, and really it's just parents, it's just we really have to supervise on a greater level. You know, before it was, you know, we had to check the backpacks and see if there were any notes in there. And kids are not writing notes now, they're texting each other, you know, and so we have to, as parents, we have to pick up the phones, we have to do our research on all these apps. How can you know, back in the day there was an app that could hide the apps on the phone. How do we know, you know, what we're looking at?
Well, one thing is making sure, like we shared our family, um, what am I trying to say? Account. We had a family account, and so I would be notified with whatever apps are being downloaded.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that's very important is and picking up those phones and common sense. When you set up an account with them, they're actually going to give you weekly emails,
Mm,
and they're going to share with you some of those hidden apps to be on the lookout for.
good.
Okay.
Okay.
And what the icon looks like. And so definitely sign up for that. All of those are changing all the time. And so definitely sign up for the free account with them so that you can be notified. But definitely sharing that one account, that family account, so that you know what apps are being downloaded and get those notifications.
Okay. Sounds
Okay.
good. Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Miss Karen. And that brings us to Miss Monique Tate. She is a secondary education teacher. And as mentioned before, you know, the virtual option is not there for us this year. And so I need you to give us some tips so that our children, our parents can be educated on how we can get our children just ready for school, how we can get them just pumped up, and maybe some tips on studying. Just whatever you have, I need you to bring that to us right now. Hey, Monique.
Hello, hello. All right, guys, this is going to be an awesome, awesome year. I need to be able to share my screen. I got a PD.
All right, let me get you here.
I've got a little screen, just a small little
Okay.
thing just to get us started.
See, there you go.
Oh, wait. Sorry, yeah, I keep all my windows open. I know Miss Pam is cringing
Good Lord.
because all of my tabs up here are just, she X's out of everything. So I'm sorry. It's a little different. Okay, 2021, year of refocus and success. How to have a successful school year for our students and parents. That is, we've been off for quite a while. There's so much going on. So many things have our attention right now. And our children are going through a lot. They're away from their friends. Everything is different. This is something new. So we've learned, I think, with our generation to be able to really master handling things. And that skill or that thing that we've had of just being able to just get up and bounce back, that resilience that we've seen in our grandparents and our moms, the next couple of generations don't really have that. So we have to really teach them how to have that. Hey, I got it. I'm gonna get back up. I can do this. It's gonna be okay. We're gonna get through this. And I think we've just seen it so long that we do it naturally, but it's not a natural ability. It's a really God-given ability to be able to keep pushing. Number one, have a daily affirmation to confess. It's so important what you speak over your life. Words are so powerful. Have your student confess daily how powerful, intelligent, gifted they are. Changing mindsets start with what we speak. Here are, I just found a positive affirmation. If you have a 4 or 5 years old, there are millions of them on the internet. Theme songs. I'm a singer. Caleb's a singer as well. Caleb Mason, yes. So we love theme songs. I love teaching the kids in children's church. We learn songs that teach them things that when they go through, they'll start singing the song that they can do. Get a theme song that professes positivity. I typically change mine and I listen to it every morning. Have a quote you say or make your own song or family saying. Like, for instance, my nephew runs track, one of them plays football. Before the games, before track meets, is dominate Tate, because my last name's Tate, so we dominate. So that's been a thing as that we do. Here's some that you can see up here. Today is an amazing day. I listen to my teachers. I'm nice to my friends. My mom and dad love me. I'm super smart. I believe in myself. I can do anything I put my mind to. I'm a leader. I'm not a follower. I'm kind to all. I have a beautiful imagination. I talk to my feelings. I talk about my feelings. I enjoy learning. I'm growing up well. I'm strong inside and out, and I'm safe. Those right there, you can feel the positive energy. When you start saying that, you'll believe it, then it'll manifest in the natural. We can start this. If we got kids online, here we go. Let's try one. We can all say it. We'll repeat after me. I am smart, kind, and powerful. I can and will accomplish everything that I'm supposed to do in life. I will walk and thrive in my purpose. I am unique, special, talented, and gifted. I am supposed to stand out. I will, I can, I shall. I just created that off the top of my head. You can do that in the car. I know you guys are parents. You're used to create stuff as you go. You can be driving, getting ready to drop them off. If they get on the bus, you're waiting on the bus to pull up. Do that every day. That will charge your atmosphere with the words that need to happen, what's going to happen for you. And it makes you feel better every day. I have one in my class every day. Pastor Mason says, I tell my kids 45 times that I love you. Ain't nothing you can do about it. And it's usually after I'm getting them together or redirecting, but it's important that they know that. All right, number 2, daily practice for math and reading. I know we have really busy schedules. I understand. You're coming and going. Sometimes you're not getting home to dinner time till it's almost time to get into bed. And I do understand that. Each day, have your student read something and practice math skills. 15 minutes a day can help them improve and build a strong foundation. Remember, our students' learning has been interrupted for over a year and a half. The pandemic has affected everything. There are a million ways we could do this. I have a list to help you. You need a weekly sheet to just do learning. Go to k5learning.com. It goes up to 6th grade. It's got math, reading on it. It's a worksheet. It doesn't have but a few things on it, a few exercises. And guess what comes with it, mom and dad? An answer sheet. So it's not going to take you to do so much to work with them. If they don't know the skill, you're seeing them struggling, guess what you can do? Go to youtube.com, type in multiplication skills. They got rap videos. They got videos to teach them how to do it. All of the above there. IXL, I love iReady and IXL. I absolutely do. You can get a free account at IXL.com. They have every standard we teach for every grade level. You can click on one, do a part of it today, part of it tomorrow, but it's a way to keep them going. Even if it wasn't a pandemic, a lot of our children were behind, but the thing is, we always want them to prepare them to be able to really be able to be the best, the top of the class. So these skills, you've always got to be building on that foundation, always plugging holes is what I call it. I'm always plugging holes with my students. And if they have a great foundation, it's good. They don't have a few cracks. But if you have a house, you're always going to be upgrading, maintaining. So this is what I call the upgrading and maintaining. We do a lot at school. We try to give them as much as possible. I work my students and I put it with fun. But the thing is, and I know you guys are driving, you're picking them up, you're working, you have everything going on, you've got several children. So these are things that you can do on the app, on the iPad in the car. They can actually do them. These are things that you could do on the way to school, on the way to picking them up, dropping them off, or whatever, games. While they're sitting out there watching their big brothers and sisters at a football game, have them on the app and doing something like this. 99math.com, you guys will love it. Cute little math game. They've got all the skills. You just start the game. You'll be the teacher. They'll be the student. You'll put the game in and they actually like doing it. And it's just practice, but it looks fun. And you don't have to create it. A lot of the other apps, you have to create the game. You don't have to do it on this one. I absolutely love that. I use it every day this summer. YouTube.com, like I said, you can go on there and search any skill. If you want to, typically, like I do a skill a week. If I'm doing tutoring, we might just do fractions a whole week. We'll do multiplication a whole week. We'll do division a whole week. So that way I'm going from scaffolding the levels. Because if you've got somebody that's supposed to be on 8th grade level, but they're testing on 3rd, 4th, 5th, or 6th grade level, I've got to get them up to that level anyway. So we want to make sure that we're practicing the skills to get them. And if you've got kids that are on grade level, phenomenal. Let's push them to the next grade level. My goal as a teacher, as a person, as a woman, I want every child that I come in contact with to be 2 grade levels above when they leave. If they're there, our children can really compete with the rest of the world. All of those gifts that are inside of them, now they can flourish because they're past where they need to be. So these are just a few. I have hundreds of them. A different thing. Common Core is another one. I can keep going for days and days on them. If you need them, I'll give you my email at the end. Miss Pam knows how to get in contact with me like that. So there's a million of them, but those are some that you don't have to create something to go. It's already there. The answers are there. Boom, boom. And then you can just kind of monitor it. Number 3, ask for help. Find out if the school has tutoring. I know with the pandemic, there's a lot of funds to tutor. We were in all summer. We literally didn't get through to the second week of July, I think. So we literally have been going all summer. They have tutoring. They'll have enrichment after school. They even want us to start it the very first day. That's phenomenal. So we're actually doing a lot of different reading enrichments, math enrichments, but usually there are some are free, some are not. Look for them because there's so many different programs. You may find one that's free, which is phenomenal. Find out the district has a homework hotline. Usually there's a 1-800 line or a homework hotline. They can be on the phone and actually getting help with homework while you're cooking dinner and they're at the table and you're monitoring. Ask for your teacher's help. Also, we are always available. We have a plethora of things that we can give you to help them, to support them, to come back. I love it when my parents are like, hey, they really struggle. I saw them doing their essay and they really struggle. Can you give them extra time? I'll put that in my schedule some kind of way to meet with this student, additional to what I'm doing in class, to make sure they have what they need. So if you need help, that's our job. That's what we're here. We actually love it to be able to help more because most teachers are really helpful and they're like, hey, I got this. I've got books, I've got websites, I've got everything that you could think of. And you always can go old school, put some problems on a board and let's work them out one by one, or let's put a writing prop up. Let's start working on our essays. I'm big on writing because now they have to write on the ACAP test. So this is from 2nd grade on up. So everybody has to be able to do a flowing paragraph, be able to do an argumentative essay or comparative, or they're able to do an analysis. So they've got to be able to tell about this story that they read and have it where it sounds right. It's grammar corrected, everything grammatically correct. Everything is where it needs to be. So you can have them do writing prompts, a paragraph, a journal is good to have with them also. So these are things that you could do that don't take a lot of effort. And also, like I said, ask your teacher. We have a plethora of things to give out and we love to help. All right, number 4, do a weekly checkup, a daily checkup. Oh, she hit it. Those open-ended, closed-ended questions. They're going to be like, fine. And it's not fine. And Miss Tater's going to call you later and tell you, well, we have a problem. I pulled a group chat. I'm screenshotting the group chat. I can send it to you. We need to deal with this, or we got a vault in Snapchat. Pictures have been released that should not be released, or there's a conversation happening about one other student and this is actually bullying and things like that. So check. If they say it's okay, I always say overdo everything or do that. Check on them daily and weekly. Check on their progress with assignments. Students will come home and be like, oh, the teacher's this and she's mean. She's not doing this. It's too much. And they're sitting there day after day, not doing anything. I love calling my parents. So they know I'm picking up the phone. Hey, mama, how you doing? That's my saying because I'm calling. And they know, please put the phone down, Miss Tate. So they already know. So, there's a lot of times we don't have the time that we really need to just be able to call and keep in contact with parents and do that. I stayed up one night, I think the 10:04, calling parent after parent after parent after parent. If you got 100 and something kids, that's a lot. And I'm multitasking like I was here doing homework and stuff I need for Monday at the same time. But if you called us or emailed or Class Dojo, which is like a text message. Hey, how's my child doing? Hey, I was meaning to call you. We got an issue. Can you give me 5 minutes of your time? And that way we're working as a team. I had one parent that was like the SWAT team. She was dead on it. Text message. I know her number by heart. She was on. I was like, man, we like the SWAT team. We shutting it down. And she was like, exactly. And the kid was like, you do the most, Miss Tate. You do the most. That's what they tell me. DTM means do the most. So if you hear your kids like DTM, they telling you you're doing the most. So that's what I do. So so do that. Verify with your teacher what your student is saying about assignments, if they really doing them. Usually you can check online grades. If you don't have it where you know the students log in because they have the information, they'll act like they can't get in the system. I don't know how to log in. That Miss Tate didn't give me that. Not true. So call us, email us, or text the teacher. Usually they can screenshot you or call you and be like, hey, give me 5 minutes of your time. This is what's going on. I don't have any assignments. It's 10 due. They did too. So we can do that. We love talking to parents. All right, 5, breathe and focus. You can do this. We believe in you. Nothing is impossible if you believe in yourself. And there is favor on your life. You are unique, special, and gifted. So just breathe and focus. You can do it. So just take it step by step, day by day. All right, we love you and thank you for your time today. Before you go, let me share this with you. Pastor Mason has our children memorize this. And this is something that is so powerful when he has these kids say this and when they do it, because it is very true and it is very powerful. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightening about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it is in everyone. And as we let our light shine, as we are liberated from our own fear, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. Our presence automatically liberates others. Very powerful, very true. And when our children recite it, the power resonates from them. I hope this bless you. If you need anything, my email is my name, Tate_Monique@yahoo.com. If you can't remember that or you spell the Tate wrong because it's Tait, just call Pastor Mason or Miss Mason and Lady Pam will get you the information. Thank you guys so much for your time. I'm going to escape and stop share.
Awesome. Monique, every time you come in here, I just love your energy. You're just so energetic and so passionate about everything you do. This was awesome. I felt like telling Cave and Live, y'all go ahead and get your clothes on. It's time to go to school. I mean, you just got so pumped. And that's just awesome. And I like what you said about positive affirmations, because a lot of times we as parents, and I am guilty, in the morning we're rushed, we're fussing, get your stuff. You didn't get this, you didn't charge your Chromebook. And so instead of doing that, instead of doing all that fussing and nagging, we need to make sure we are having those family huddles before we walk out the door and confessing those positive things over their lives. Another thing that Pastor, he does during story time with the children, it's a very short one, but he has them to say, I am the best, I can do it, God is always with me, I am a winner, today is my day. And so whatever affirmation you choose, it gets them started right. Just like, we have to have a good breakfast. We go to school, got to have a mask. We also need to have those positive confessions. Great tips. I love K5 Learning because you're right. It has those answers. It's been a while since I've done multiplied fractions and I forgot how to do it. So I love that. Great websites. Listen to anyone. If you want any information, if you want any of the PowerPoint slides, you can please email me at ladypam@tcowi.org and I can get it from our speakers and then we can email it to you guys. But great information. And so love the math and reading, asking for help, breathing. You know, the anxiety is just kind of creeping up because we're doing something that's hard. And so, like you said, breathe, focus, ties in a lot to what Valerie said. Everybody's just really complimenting each other as far as the information given. So we're going to have our last speaker for today. He is not the least. I know he's last, but he is not the least. But he is the principal of Fairfield High School. Excited because he is going to summarize it all up as far as what our students, our parents, our teachers, just everybody needs to do to be able to have a great school year. So hello, Dr. Tim.
Hello, good morning, everybody. Greater Rising. I
Great
want
Rising.
to say thank you for having me here. My pastor, teacher James Mason III, and Lady Pam. Thank you all again. I don't know why you have me here. All these scholars on this panel today, they said it all. I'm like, what I need to talk about when they already summed it up. But I'm here to discuss how parents and students can have a successful year. And I'm with Valerie Wilson. She said it first. It starts in the home. It starts in the home. Everything starts in your home. I know you're trying to see how we're going to have a successful year right when school starts. Now we having all this COVID-19 and everything is changing. CDC is changing every day. Like Dr. Cree said, it's changing every single day, every day. And it's going to be back to business usual. You know why? Because the high state assessments from the state of Alabama. You know, third graders, I have a third grader and they're not reading fluently in the third grade, then they could possibly be held back. And so every day I spend time, except yesterday, Mason, we're gonna read today. She reads me a story and I have her to tell me what the story is about, as Monique Tate said. You know, I spend that time, I just take a little time out of my day, my busy schedule, and say, come on, read me a story so we can talk about it. And it makes a difference because she loves sitting up there and we spending time at the same time. But parents, hear me well, I'm gonna take you to church just a little bit. The same way that God told us that he would never leave us nor forsake us in Deuteronomy 31:6, it's the same way as parents we need to do when it comes to our children. See, in Deuteronomy 31:3-6, Moses in his old age, he was about 120 years old, informed the children of Israel that God shared with him about, you know, the scripture says God himself would cross over ahead of the children of Israel, and that he would destroy anything and anybody before them, and they would possess the promised land. Now, let me ask you a few questions, parents. I have to ask you all this. What is your vision for your child for this upcoming school year? And when you have the vision for your child, you need to make sure that you're checking on your child, not just leaving them at home and leaving them to do all the work. Are you speaking promises of God over your children? It starts in the home, like Valerie Wilson say, are you speaking the promises of God over your children? And I have to ask you one more. Parents, are you exemplifying strength and courage in front of your kids? So you have to understand that when we exemplify strength and courage by modeling for our children, that they don't have to be afraid or terrified because the Lord your God goes before and with you. But at the same time, as Dr. Cree said, you got to teach them as well. So my daughter had open house yesterday in Birmingham City School. We had open house. And on the way home, my middle child, going to the 6th grade, was teaching my 3rd grader, hey, don't touch your face when you go out there. And I have a wonderful wife, I'm gonna tell you. Speaking the promise of God, as soon as we wake up, Allison Perry, she's speaking the promises of God over everybody in the house. I mean, anytime she see the kids, she's speaking the promises of God. She have us to quote certain things. Well, my thing is we have to model as parents what we expect for our kids. So now, when you do that, he will never leave you nor forsake you. So now you can begin, and students can, and your child can begin to walk in the fullness of no weapon formed against me. You can walk in, I am the head and not the tail, because they'll believe it because you speak it so much in your home. You can walk in, I am more than a conqueror. Or you can decree and declare that this will be the best school year of your life, despite of a pandemic. Despite of a pandemic. Now, I understand that just because the promised land and the promise of God have been spoken over you, a lot of times students feel as though they don't have to do anything. This pandemic shut the world down. A lot of kids sitting at home, they think you're supposed to just give them a grade. Parents shut down, they're not monitoring their kids. Well, let me tell you something. It actually means that you got to work even harder because of the harvest. So let me talk to some farmers a little bit. Because I had looked this up about the harvest. They have different steps. They have like 4 different steps. In harvesting your crops is to cut the plant with the branches of the buds. And once they do that, they have to trim the big leaves off. And then they have to remove the large leaves and dry them. But you don't know when they dry them, they have to have the ideal condition when they dry them. And then the last step they do, they cure them. That means drying the bud slowly in a controlled environment. So in order to have a harvest, you have to do work. So that means that it takes work to reap the fruit. And that's why the Bible says faith without work is dead. A lot of people have faith, you praying on, but you're not even trying to work it. Some people say they want a job, Lord, give me a job, but you're not even trying to go out there and put an application in. And look at the world around us. We're not trying to do anything. Can't even find people to work. Can't find people to work. So students and parents, you will have to do the work. And parents, don't stay up doing all that work. Make them get engaged with that. I watched my wife when my kids were small. She was staying up 12 and 1 in the morning. I used to tell her, man, you better get them involved with their own work so they'll know how to do it and know how to tell about it. But you know, she was that super mom. She's that super mom. I love my wife. But most certainly you need to oversee the work. Once they do it, oversee it. So inspect what you inspect and hold them accountable. I'm like this, parents, no good grades, no video games. No good grades, no going out with your friends. No good grades, no iPhone. I'm gonna give your butt a flip phone so I can just get in touch with you. You know, you won't have an iPhone, I'm paying all this money for an iPhone, you're not doing anything. And I watch too many times, parents, they're not doing work and you buying them Jordans, you in line like kids, you buying all these clothes. I had a mother and father that didn't play that. You didn't, all they said, we just want you to bring good grades home so you can be successful. And we didn't do that. You didn't get a large Christmas, you probably got a little something. They'll look at you like, nah, all I ask you to do is do your work in school. So I'm gonna leave you with 6 tips because these scholars on the panel, they said everything needed to be said with the healthy tips, with the apps. So my daughter Madison, I got you with the apps. So, you know, I'm learning a lot. I took a lot of great notes today, great speakers. So I'm gonna leave you with 6 tips. A lot of them already, they're kind of redundant because a lot of them already said it, but monitor your child daily work. Let me tell you something, the state of Alabama, they're going to power schools. Not out now. So you need to go to Power School, SIS, once they get set up, because everybody's still trying to learn the process. You need to get their login information, even though you ask your child, well, how's your work going? How's that? That's fine. No, you go behind them and check and see what is fine to them. Fine to them could be a D or F. You better go behind and check. Okay, communicate with teachers on a regular basis. When my kids go to school, I give them my email, I give them my phone number. I want their phone numbers and emails. I'm gonna stay in touch with them. So if they're having a problem, I remember trying to help my middle child with math. Shoot, this math is kind of different now. So I was like, I had to go to her teacher and I got on the board, please show me how to do this so I can help my child at home. Sometimes it takes that. So you need to communicate with teachers on a regular basis. Set a homework schedule for the weekend. Have them doing something. Don't have it all play. Just have like an hour out of the day where they'll read and do some type of work and you monitor that. Set and enforce a specific bedtime for your kids, as Dr. Cree said. Get back on your routines, get back on schedule. Because my girls know tomorrow night, you're going to be in bed before 8 o'clock. So you can get up and we be ready for school. They start school on Monday. Like Ms. Monique said, select a beneficial after school program. Something that's going to be beneficial to your child. So you got to select a beneficial after school program, not just to keep my child, or y'all help them with the homework. Can you go over some things? Because a lot of times as parents, we're so busy. So you will need somebody, an adult there to just check their homework and you go behind and read and make sure they understand what they're doing. And the last tip, encourage your kids to explore their interests. Encourage them. You know, what do you want to become? And you set them up on a pathway where they can be successful. So you got to explore the interests, you know, go to those meetings. You know, my oldest child will say she want to be a nurse. Well, we're going to connect you with a lot of nurses. She's already talking to some of my aunts and my cousins about nursing. So you got to connect them. And I'm done. Like I said, you have a lot of great panelists. I don't have to speak long. Thank you all. Remember, I love you. There ain't nothing you can do about it.
All right now. Dr. Tim, that was great. No, you put the icing on the cake. That's what you did. No, this was great. I mean, it was good information as far as, you know, parents really having to be involved. We can't just, you know, put our child at the table and then, you know, okay, I'm done my schoolwork. No, you have to go behind them and check it and make sure it's right. We have to communicate to the teachers via email, whatever it is. I've never had a teacher that just would not communicate to me. I think teachers love that. They like to see parents that are involved. So of course, make that a plus. You can't, you know, if you hadn't checked on your child for 2 months schoolwork, you can't go up to the school system raising Cain, you know, the teacher is, you know, this and he's that and they're biased. No, you have to always make sure that you're, you know, that we're doing our part. And so that was great. That was awesome. I like what you said about those iPhones are for A students. That's what we say in my house. Those for A students, you know. If you a C student, you know, you get the flip phone. That's good. I like that, because sometimes as parents, you know, we want to give our children things we never had, but you know, that's not always a good thing. They need to earn that. They need to learn how to earn that. And so great information. Thank you so much to all of our panelists. Listen, Monique, sidebar, I just want you to know you're probably going to be presenting that, what you did tomorrow at the drive-up service tomorrow at 10. Okay, but if everybody could please, and we'll start with Dr. Cree, once again, just kind of run through how people can contact you or email you or look you up on social media. We'll start with Dr. Cree.
All right, you can find me on all social media at Dr. Cree, DoctorKre. And I do a show at least 1 or 2 times a month called Dr. Cree and Me, where we talk about everything dealing with your healthcare. Now it's all about COVID, but follow me there and we'll get the rundown going. Thank y'all for having me.
Awesome. And then Miss Larissa, tell us again how we can contact you.
Hello. You can email me at lstrath@uab.edu, or follow me on Instagram at dr.larissajane. And I also just wanted to let you know that I put the information as to the alert that I got with the CDC in the comments for that, what we were talking about with Dr. Cree in terms of new science that's coming out with breakthrough stuff. So that's in the comments. Look for it in the comments.
Okay, sure will. Thank you. And Miss Valerie, how can we contact you?
Yeah, you can find me at refinedmindshealth.com. And that's my website. You can read my bio there. Phone number 480-455-7742. Or you can email me at valerielpc@refinedmindshealth.com. I just want to also put a cap on Dr. Perry's message that we can pray and we can speak things, but if we're not actively trying to implement these strategies and tips presented here today, our faith is certainly dead. So I really appreciate your message.
Amen. Awesome. Thank you. And then Miss Karen, how can we locate you?
Yeah, so I can be reached at kdarroch, which is DARROCH, at hoover.k12.al.us.
Awesome. That long email. I have to get used to that. All the school systems, AL.US. All right. And then Miss Monique, how can we contact you?
My email is Tait, TAIT _Monique, MONIQUE @yahoo.com.
Awesome. And Dr. Perry.
Yes, I want to ask Dr. Larissa. She never said anything about fried fish, was it? I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's our Friday treat.
Okay, I was just making sure. You know, my wife cooked a lot of fish, but I love that fried fish.
I know. I always say it's not a treat if I eat it every day, so I have to keep it a treat.
So you may contact me. My email is TJP, again, TJP 205 @yahoo.com.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. And once again, social media, thank you, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube for watching us on today. Make sure you share this information. Also, if you need any further information, if you want the presenters' PowerPoints, please email me at ladypam@tcowi.org. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great day. Also at Birmingham Bible Church on tomorrow, we'll be giving out school supplies at 529 43rd Street North starting at, well, it'll be at a drive-through service. So we'll start worship at 10 a.m. So be there in a lineup to enjoy service, of course, from Pastor Mason. But we look forward to seeing all y'all on tomorrow, 10 a.m. Thank you, panelists. Thank y'all so much. Appreciate y'all.